Boa tarde a todos e a todas, muito obrigado por estarem aqui para a sessão da tarde. Hoje vamos ter uma mesa redonda com Joaquim Sandé Silva e Verónica Policarpo. Creio que vai ser uma mesa muito interessante, porque vai trazer temáticas que ainda não foram muito abordadas, mas a temática dos animais ou a temática específica da monocultura do eucalipto. O Joaquim enfim, tem publicado imenso sobre a ecologia do fogo e ele trabalha neste caso, o eucalipto, sempre a partir da ótica da ecologia do fogo e da reação ao fogo. É um dos autores do relatórios dos incêndios de 2017 em Petrógão Grande, juntamente com o professor Xavier Viegas e outra equipa. Enfim, tem-se especializado muito, fez várias investigações já pós-incêndios, que demonstram, ele vai se calhar falar sobre isso, que mostra a ressurgência de novos ecossistemas dentro destes espaços e, sobretudo, também a capacidade multiplicadora extraordinária do eucalipto em Portugal, no contexto português. Enfim, ele dirige várias equipas de investigação, tem feito trabalhos no terreno, em Portugal e fora de Portugal. Um currículo vastíssimo, muito produtivo. Se pesquisarem o nome dele na internet vão encontrar imensos. É uma presença assídua na comunicação social todos os verões, por más razões. Já saberão, não é porquê, aparece com muita frequência na época dos incêndios. E por isso é uma grande honra tê-lo aqui connosco. Eu sei que ele tem uma agenda preenchidíssima, foi mesmo complicado, mas ele, com a sua generosidade e boa vontade, lá conseguiu arranjar um tempinho para estar aqui connosco e, portanto, é com muito prazer que o vamos ouvir. Joaquim.
Muito obrigado, Martinho, e muito obrigado à organização pelo convite para estar aqui presente. Espero que, enfim, que a perspectiva que traga aqui seja do vosso interesse e que é muito provavelmente diferente enfim, das outras perspectivas que têm ouvido aqui, mas suponho que é essa a intenção. Então, o título desta palestra é das monoculturas aos novos ecossistemas. Então, se calhar começar por fazer passar o slide, que não está, ok. Começar por explicar o que são novos ecossistemas. O termo novos ecossistemas foi cunhado, não é, como se diz em inglês, coined, por um investigador chamado Richard Hobbs, e que se aplica àqueles ecossistemas que surgem através de processos naturais, mas com espécies que não são do local, ou seja, com aquilo que nós digamos como espécies exóticas, e de um modo geral está muito associado aos processos de invasão, né? de expansão. Portanto, temos uma monocultura e depois aquilo está controlado durante algum tempo, e depois há aquilo que se chama o escape from plantation, não é? Portanto, há um escape, uma saída, uma fuga de alguns propágulos sob a forma, frequentemente sementes, mas podem ser outras formas. E então o Hobbes, neste artigo de 2006, tipifica aqui com este modelo conceptual as formas de formação de novos ecossistemas. Podem formar-se a partir de monoculturas, que é o que está aqui do lado direito, mas podem formar-se também a partir da degradação de ecossistemas naturais existentes, onde, por exemplo, o fogo é um fator que pode contribuir para essa degradação. Então, estas espécies, normalmente muito agressivas. Martim, chegou agora o Frank, devo mudar para I'm going to switch to English just because of you, so we'll have to talk after this afterwards about the Okay, so I was talking about the formation of novel ecosystems, which can be formed from monocultures, but they can be formed from natural ecosystems that become degraded, for example, because of a forest fire. And then this degradation, this process of degradation of natural ecosystems creates the opportunity for species which are very opportunistic and very aggressive to colonize and to expand. So this man here was called Carlos Manuel Leitão Beita Neves. He was my professor at the School of Agriculture of the Technical University of Lisbon. And he was one of the first persons to speak about novel ecosystems, even before the term was coined. So you saw that it was in 2006. But it was mostly because of the acacias, because the Forest Services and the entity that manages the roadsides, they were importing acacias to stabilize the roadsides and the slopes. And then it was becoming they were becoming expanded across the landscape because of these introductions. Still, the debate between these new species and the native species is an ongoing debate, because many people still think, although it's not politically correct to say that, well, we should welcome these alien species because they may be the nature's salvation. So I was in a congress in Switzerland where these environmental journalist Fred Pierce was talking, and he was shocking the whole audience because he was defending the exotic species, just saying that, well, we should care for them because they are the winners, and so they present many advantages for us, and it's useless to fight them. So why do that? So it's another way of seeing the problem, even, well, if it is a problem. So now going to the eucalyptus. Eucalyptus were introduced into Europe at the end of the 18th century, and in Portugal by mid 19th century, first as ornamental species in gardens in central and northern Portugal. And one of the first references that we have about eucalyptus is from this man here, Essa de Queiroz, which all Portuguese should know. And he was writing this book, Cidade das Serras, where he's making a comment on eucalyptus. Tormes is in Minho, and he was mentioning to eucalyptus as an ugly and ridiculous tree. So, but not everybody was seeing eucalyptus like that, because here you see these two men here in this photo. One of them was Manuel Alberto Rey. He was the manager from the Forest Services. Who was in charge of the forests that you have in the close to the sea, so what now we call national forests, and they were introducing eucalyptus for the drying swamp areas like here, and it was, so eucalyptus was faced as a miracle species. So it was growing so fast, and it could dry the swamps, which was causing diseases like malaria at the time. And this was at the beginning of the 20th century. So the former slide. So eucalyptus, since it was introduced, has been expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. So nowadays it's the tree that covers the highest area of forest in Portugal. And this according to the last national inventory. Here you see that these curves, they are above the eucalyptus, but they include several species. So here you have pine trees with several pine trees. And here you have two species that are in the Montado, which are the cork oak and the holm oak. So if we consider just one single species, eucalyptus, beats them all. So it's the tree most expanded. So how did it become expanded? Mostly because of plantations, because of monocultures, because many people is cultivating it, but not only. So this area that you hear here, that you see here, close to Coimbra, when you look at it, these tall trees going downslope, you might think, well, this is another plantation that some idiot was establishing in a slope that is impossible for you to plow and to do some management, because it's so slopey and it's so who the hell would think of putting eucalyptus here? No one, because they were established by themselves. So formerly there were plantations on the top of the hill, but then after several fires they became established along the slope, and now what you see, it's something that it looks completely natural. It's like a natural forest, but the only thing is that it's composed by a species that it's not from here. It became from the other side of the world, from Australia. And this is the paradigm of a novel ecosystem. So the species is reproducing, it dominates the space. It has wiped out all the native species that were there. There's nothing there that you see native beneath these canopies, because they dominate everything. So we started from monocultures to, and then we ended up with a novel ecosystem. So forest fires are a major driver of eucalyptus expansion. Portugal is the country in Europe and one of the countries in the world where the forest burns the most. You see here that how the other countries of Europe have evolved in terms of forest fires. So this is burned area. And in Spain, in France, in Italy, in Greece, only Portugal has been increasing the area that was burned since the 80s until now. So this map includes the areas burned between 2011 and 2020. And during this 10 years period, 1.2 million hectares have burned. So this situation creates a very particular, it's a particular situation in terms of Europe and in terms of the world. So it's what we in statistics call an outlier. So it's something that it's not normal. There is someone talking with consegues tirar o som dos participantes.
Claro que no fui yo la que la embarazó. Si no quiere que la descubra, debe hacer lo que yo quiero. O diré, ¿quién eres para amenazarme y desafiarme? Dale la lengua antes de que abras la boca y se la arrojaré a los perros. Cuéntame.
Sorry. It happens. No, o teu está.
Okay. So, an outlier. Not everybody has notion of that, so especially the government. Especially the politicians and the government, they just don't see anything. They just keep their head in the sand. So talking a little bit, how is the process of this transition from a plantation that you see here to a novel ecosystem that you see on the right side of the photo. So as I said, fire is a major driver of this process, because this colleague from Ukraine, she was showing me, Evgenia, you were showing me seeds of eucalyptus. So see how it works. You have the capsules, which are the fruits, and they have these 4 valves, and they are kept closed along the life of, well, for many years. But then when a fire comes, and we were doing an experiment with this torch, we were burning branches, and then we were collecting the seeds that were released. And here you have the control, where very few seeds were released. And then here you have the scorched branches. So when fire comes, and it doesn't need a big fire, just even a very small fire, it's enough for the canopy to become completely scorched brown, and then the capsules open, and then they release the seeds. So you may have a massive release of seeds when fire comes. Moreover, the conditions that seeds get in a burned area, they are very good, because you have ashes on the floor, which is a very nice seed bed for seeds to land and to establish and to start germinating. Like this experiment that a colleague was doing in Galicia, here very close to northern Portugal. So one of the first studies that was done in this on this topic was from this very good friend of mine, Matt Larcombe, in Australia. Now he's in New Zealand. And I got a scholarship to work in Australia to make an inventory close to plantations. So this is me collecting data in 2011. And then we were checking whether fire was contributing to the establishment of new plants. We were also seeing a lot of kangaroos. always it was one of the nice things of my stay in Australia at that time. Then we have started a lot of studies on the conditions for the establishment of eucalyptus. So what is good for eucalyptus? So we saw we were talking about fire, but not only. All disturbed places are good for eucalyptus to establish. So, for example, roadsides, we will see a photo of a roadside that is colonized by new eucalyptus. And this is more or less common to other invasive species. Whenever they find disturbed places with bare soil, I'll not go across this through this diagram here. It's a technique of statistics called regression trees. But basically, what it shows is that when you have bare ground, you have better opportunities for seeds to establish. Another characteristic is that plants, they start producing seeds at a very early stage. So you see these very small plants, they have already seeds and fruits. And this is a very good advantage compared to the native plants. Then we were expanding the studies at a landscape scale. And we were able to produce this map of eucalypt risk of invasion for Portugal. When you see that the red colors are mostly in the center and in the northern Portugal, and close to the sea, where you have more moisty conditions, which are good for the establishment of seeds. And we were doing this, and we did that also for the Iberian Peninsula, using a specific modeling process, which are called species distribution model. And we got more or less the same result, also expanding to Galicia and then to Asturias in the northern of Spain. So these are the places where you have highest probability of getting a novel ecosystem resulting from a monoculture plantation. Then the fires of 2017 came, and this has also created good opportunities to study the expansion process. So then we were seeing a massive establishment of eucalyptus, like here in Santa Combadão, very close, where these trees here, they are not eucalyptus, they are pines. But one single tree that you see here was responsible for all these massive colonization. So you started here, it was not a monoculture, it was just single trees, big trees, old trees that had this potential of expanding the plants and transforming the landscape, basically, because this pine forest was suddenly transformed into a novel ecosystem dominated by eucalyptus. This study shows that we had in 2017 fires in June and fires in October, but the October fires were more favorable to the establishment because the soil was already wet, because there was rain coming at the same time. And what the colleagues, this study was not from me, it's from a colleague from Lisbon. They concluded it's that plantations, if they are not managed, they present a much higher risk of establishment and development of novel ecosystem. This man here, I think everybody knows who he is. It's our president. And he was uprooting eucalyptus. And in the background, you see that the president of Vozela. The man was highly criticized at the time by the people from the eucalypt companies. Well, what is he doing? Is pulling out our precious eucalyptus, and so is giving a bad message to people because these plants are useful. But what the president was doing he was trying to prevent the establishment of a novel ecosystem composed by eucalyptus, because these trees that you see here, it was a different forest before the invasion came. Okay. We were following similar situations in Santa Combadão. This was the situation in 2018, 1 year after the big fires, and this was 3 years after. And what you see here, it's like a monoculture. The only thing is that it's not cultivated, it's not managed, and it's not controlled. Okay, so this is basically wasteland because it's not producing anything. It's bad for animals, and it has everything bad. I think this is the last slide before I go to the conclusions. We were also investigating other situations. So this is Mata do Urso, southern of Figueira da Foz, where these 10 trees on the roadside, they were responsible for the colonization of 1 full hectare of eucalyptus. This previously was a pine forest. Then the pines were burned, and then these eucalyptus started shedding seeds over the pines, and then you don't have any pines anymore. You just have a forest of eucalyptus. So final conclusions. Novel ecosystems are often worse than monocultures, and I know that people here don't have a very positive impression about monocultures, but it can be worse. So when you have a well-managed plantation, at least you control the process, and you know when to harvest, and you can even convert and restore the area. When you have a novel ecosystem, you control nothing. So the species controls the process, and it expands across the landscape, and it doesn't, and it causes these situations that I was describing before. So Another thing is that in many areas of the country, we believe that we are now in the middle of a fire cycle. So the fire creates a novel ecosystem of eucalyptus or acacia or the other alien species, because there are others. And then this creates good conditions for fire to spread. And then another fire comes, and then it spreads more and goes on and on and on. So this is not a very optimistic message that I'm leaving here, but fortunately there are initiatives that go in the opposite sense. So Martinho was telling me about these initiatives by an NGO called Novos, who are trying to restore the land and trying to restore going back in time and trying to create native forests in areas that are degraded. So we should have hope and believe that it's possible to make a change. Thank you.